Hi everyone, this is Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Maggies Rise to Power. Oh, did we have some heated and deep conversations last night, and we're going to just keep it rolling right along. We will touch into some other topics later on tonight and also throughout the week. But the Maggie storyline, I never thought we'd be doing so many videos on Rick's final episodes talking about Maggie. Definitely stole the show. That is the storyline right now. Got a couple super chats in the house, so do want to say what's up to Pete D. Says, hello everyone. I wonder if we find out Michonne is pregnant with Rick Jr. after he's gone. It's a good question. We're going to dig into that a little bit deeper as well. And also to Valar, who says, hello 999 Army, Kill Steph, Kales, Emmy, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, patrons, and of course all the super chatters. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here. And of course, appreciate the super chat. So we're going to get right into it. I've got pages and pages of notes. I know last night we really wanted to lay the base. I do have to say, we felt a very warm reception from the show. The season premiere did not get as much of an overwhelming, I don't think there was as much anticipation by borderline Walking Dead fans, and definitely was not out of the gates like some of the neutral people that wanted to come back to the show. Talked to several people that were on the fence, and they were just like, it was average. With me, it was better than average. It was good. I think the hype, the anticipation was definitely good. But as I went back through the notes, there were some things that I think did seem a little bit forced. Let me just say that. Not bad, but there were a couple storylines that seemed a little bit, a little quicker. And I think the Ken thing was something I got some pushback on. But it did develop Maggie's storyline in a hurry. So let's go through. Here's something that I think is really important from last night's episode. We went through the time skip. It's assumed that, they've lived a year and a half. Maggie has not went back to Alexandria. Rick did ask that. But I do want to remind you guys of the initial trip when they were at the Museum of Natural History. So right before, I think it's this scene here, they were talking to Maggie, and Maggie, let me get her quote. She says, these things will come in handy. And I think it was the plow and some of the other tools. She says, we can help the sanctuary fix things. So at that point, Maggie is still, when I heard that line, I'm thinking, because I already knew that Maggie sort of had an agenda against the sanctuary, but she appeared not to have it at that point. She looked like she was helping, right? Even Rick had said, you extended yourself, you've helped out before, you've done more than you needed to. Will you do it again? So early on in the episode, she was totally cool with helping everybody. But when I heard that, I kind of thought, wait a minute, she's being sneaky. And the only reason I thought that is because I already knew that, well, Casey, she said that before Ken died, that they could help the Saviors fix things. She said it in the museum. And when I heard that, I'm like, she's just being sneaky. She's trying to trick people. But no, I think she genuinely wanted to help them at that point. And the two things that really changed her, I think she is suffering from stress. I think she has a stress disorder. And too much pressure and too much of that reliving that Glenn experience is bringing it back. The reason I say that is because we've always felt like Maggie was at a good place, right? Maggie was tough. She lived on the farm. She did some things. But now I think that she has a stress disorder that is pushing her to change. And I think it's a very real issue for her character. How she can go from time to put the kids to bed, and, a little bit later, she's just different. And that could be something, I think, that ultimately pushes her to leave. Here's a couple things that I want to highlight for everybody. So this is what Maggie has kind of been about. Maggie has been about not really wanting to be in the leadership role, but taking over the leadership role. And now I think she wants it. Then she's been conflicted with Glenn's legacy. Like, what part of Glenn is going to carry on. Very protective as well. Then you can see she not only transitions from Glenn's legacy, but to the protection of baby Herschel. And then you add the two big events that happen in this episode, and, one could argue, well, obviously the Ezekiel proposal was a very big event. But I think that the kin death and not being able to protect someone's kid and having to break the news to the family, I think she saw how tough it is for a mother to protect her child. And we started to see a little bit of that at the end of last season. It wasn't as much the events with the children. But remember how desperate she was for Rick to kill Negan? I mean, she was screaming at the top of her lungs, he needs to die. No, he needs to die. And then, what do we see after that? We see a cold, calculated Maggie, very structured, very to the point. But we saw this desperation. Remember, Maggie wanted to kill Negan at Glenn's grave. That was so important to her. And then when she couldn't do that, she needed Rick to kill Negan, and he couldn't do it. But then the scene, and I think you're going to see this kind of go back and forth, and I never thought we would be doing complete episodes just to Maggie. We've got June Smith with a super chat, and June says, I'm with you on Maggie. I don't like this new person she's becoming. I hate how they're treating Rick. I believe this new attitude will lead to her exit 9-9 for life. June, I want to focus on your comment just for a second, because I think last season we criticized Rick. It's almost the identical situation, but with a completely different story. And let me tell you what I mean here. So we've always expected Rick not to lie, to have at least some, semblance of mercy. And when he and Morgan were in there with the Saviors, and Rick turned on them, basically killed them, there were some people, fans, that said, you know what, they're Saviors, Rick had to do it, right? Just had to make it happen. And they forgave him. But there were a lot of people that said, we understand what Rick did, but we don't like it because it's not typical Rick Grimes character. So the story, people are more interested in what he stands for and what he is, even though they forgave him. Right? A lot of people hated that choice. Well, Maggie is in almost the exact same situation, but with a different set of circumstances. Think about Gregory. There's a lot of people that agree, and they say Gregory needed to die. He was scum. There's no doubt he should have died, but that's not who we are used to seeing Maggie be. That she's starting to change. And now I don't think there's as big of an audience that is upset at Maggie for killing Gregory as they were of Rick turning on people that had kind of put down their weapons or basically said, we'll fight side by side with you, Rick. I think there was more of a backlash, at least from what I heard from my viewers. But I still think that people are afraid of what this character in Maggie's becoming. And I wanted to highlight just a couple of the inconsistencies in her character and how she seems to be okay. And this is why I can't trust her. We typically gravitate toward characters on the show that we feel like we can trust. And by trust, I mean consistency, and we've seen them do things, and they continue to hold true to their character. Like, those of you, how many people have attended live streams? How many people have been in the 999 Army for over a year? That they watched all of Season 8, and they were here, and they were in the streams, and they've been pretty loyal to the channel, and they participate in the chat. Most, right? And if you haven't been, subscribe. Hang out with us a little bit. So, you guys kind of get a feel for my character. I mean, sometimes we're going to take off the gloves and we're going to be passionate about something, but you kind of know most of my viewpoints on the show. And I'm going to try to dig down and be a little bit more, get into the thought process and the psychology of it. But if I tuned in, and you know that we're not going to have trolls here, right? So if you tuned in one time and I was sitting back and there were people bullying each other, and I'm like, yeah, come on, hey, go ahead and insult that person a little bit more. That's what we do here. We love bullies. We love trolls. Then you guys would be like, what in the hell is Kills doing? It'd be so out of character for you to join a chat, and it would be shocking. So when Rick, everything he was going through, to me that was shocking. Maggie, it's not shocking yet, but there's a slight current of electricity that I'm starting to feel. I'm not going to give it a full-scale shock, but I'm starting to be conditioned for a change in her story, and a change that might be too much. Might be too much for me to handle. And it's not about leadership anymore. It's about how this absolute power that she's starting to get, whether she wants it or not, could corrupt her, absolutely corrupt her. I think it's holding true. And I don't know if it's her fault. And that's what has me taking a step back. So Viola McGowan says it's about revenge. And Viola, I think to a degree it is, but I think she's been able to disguise it or try to live with it. And it's getting to a point. The analogy I want to use is, it's just Maggie's just this pot of water. And for a year and a half, it's gotten a little warmer. It's gotten a little warmer. And then these things happen, and then it starts to boil. And then it settles down a little bit. She sort of controls it. And I'm feeling it's going to boil over control. Just out of control. And that's where we might see that scene where I really think her and Daryl are going to have the gasoline. I think they're going to try to smoke Negan out. I really think that she's going to make a commitment to get revenge. Jimmy's Jammin' says, I love Maggie till the day she leaves, and then some, but she's been through hell and back. She's not taking any more kills. So, Jimmy, I'm going to slightly disagree with you. I think you're right. Let me say that by she's not taking it anymore. But how did you feel about the fact that she has helped the sanctuary to a certain extent? That she didn't completely turn her back on? And how did you feel about her saying in the museum that we can use this to help the sanctuary fix things? Because based on your comment, it does seem like she was taking it. That she was trying to transition. And the Ken death just sparked it all over again. If I could point to one event, just the look on her face when Ken was dying. Right, Angie? Angie says she's trying really hard to live with it. She did, Lakeisha, and she did say she was going to bide her time, and if they were under attack again, she was going to be ready. And we kind of felt like that, but I don't know. It was very vague. I'll put it that. At a minimum, it was very vague. At the end of last season, you almost feel like she's angry at Rick. They are going to bide their time. You know, what Rick did, keeping him alive, that was wrong. And part of you felt like, okay, she's going to go kill Negan. And then the other half is like, wait a minute. She's just talking about rebuilding and being prepared in case there is another uprising or another attack. So the writers, I think, were very careful to show us both perspectives. But if we had to lean one way toward the other, it did feel like she was going to be dark and she was going to go kill Negan. But then we got news of this time skip. And that was her biding her time, and that was her building up. But if she was building up, I just feel like if she wasn't sincerely trying to accept it, she would have turned her back on the sanctuary earlier. Because even the spoilers that we had heard, they said that Maggie was going to starve out the sanctuary. But I didn't feel like she was going to starve the sanctuary out. I felt like she just, once this happened, she's just not going to help anymore. And I guess it is that fine line we're straddling. So let me ask the group this. Maybe this will help out. And we'll do a little bit of what if, right? What if Ken would not have died? Do you think that Maggie would have continued to help the sanctuary, that all would have been good? Because I do. You know, maybe I'm being a little bit naive, but I do. I felt like she was very honest. It didn't seem like she was being shady and trying to lie to anyone. And Timothy, I'm only saying I'm saying based on that being the end game. If Ken wouldn't have died and all was happy ever after, I don't think she would have turned on the saviors. Now, if something else happened to sort of bring it back into her memory, yes. I mean, there's always another event that could go down. We'll touch on that one second. Rick Fisher. What was her condition about helping out the saviors? Her condition was that they supply the labor and put their lives on the line to go help, and that they give them all the fuel that they've been making from their dead corn. And she was mad. I mean, she was very animated with it, like their dead corn. I mean, just the word dead there, I think, was powerful. And let me tell you one more point of transition. So, 18 months have passed. All right, it's story time with Killshot, because the Ken death was the number one meaningful event that I saw to change. But after that all went down, this to me was the second most important thing that happened. And we saw it earlier, but we didn't know the context of it. Rick is in a compromising position by asking, Gamma, we barely knew him, but who Ken was is irrelevant. What Ken meant to Maggie is relevant. That's number one. Number two is Rick Grimes in a compromising position. I think it was the visual from this, the fact that Rick was sitting down and Maggie was standing up. Okay? She's looking down on him. That was a very conscious, by the writers, by the directors, by Angela Kang, showing a transition of power from male to female. That Maggie is not going to answer to Rick Grimes anymore. So I think there were several things that were just really, really powerful from that scene. And they had a moment alone where Maggie said, when you said you were going to follow me, I wasn't a person to be followed. That changes now. It was direct. It was hardcore. It was looking down at him in his face. And Rick had nothing. He had nothing for it. Now, one could only hope that by Rick hearing that and Rick seeing the hanging, that the wisdom in Rick Grimes is going to be like, this could be a problem. Not that it is a problem right now, because many of you, not in a bad way, many of you are just blindly supporting Maggie killing Gregory. And it's okay, because I don't think there's a right and a wrong here. But I do think that Michonne and Rick are taken a little bit in, and they're going to be like, she gets the pass this time. But what happens next time? I think they're already planning that this could go bad, and could go bad in a hurry. That this could flow over into something else. And I have to tell you, absolutely loved it. Loved the polarizing decisions that we're going to have to make this season. Walking Dead nerd, here's what I would say. I don't know if it's a matter of justification. And we'll touch on a little bit of last night. Killing Gregory was justified. Executing Gregory in front of a group is debatable. And why it's such a polarizing topic, it shows that there are holes in their lack of rebuilding and their legal system. If you're at an ATM and someone comes to rob you, you have a right to defend yourself. If they turn around and run and they're 50 feet away and you shoot them in the back, you don't have that right. And this is the part where it fell on Maggie's shoulders. This is the gray area. And it shows that there are no laws. And hardcore fans, they're called in the moment and they say, Maggie was justified, she was attacked, they almost killed baby Herschel. But my question would be, who made this law? Who decided that Gregory should die? What was Daryl's input in this? What was Jesus' input in this? And if they're going to build a bigger world, if they're going to build bigger communities, why did Ezekiel not have a say in this? Why did Rick not have a say in this? Maggie made the decision. If Daryl's running the sanctuary, where's Daryl? Where's Carol? Where's Rick? Where's Michonne? Where's Ezekiel? And they still may have came to the same conclusion. Or it may have been a unanimous conclusion, whatever you decide on. But you have to decide on something. It was not Maggie's job to unilaterally decide what everybody else out there needed to see. And Jamie Jordan, I love this. In bold, Jamie says, Maggie has to show it's not a democracy. But Jamie, if it's not a democracy, what's the difference between her rule of law and Negan's rule of law? And if Maggie starts to turn into Negan, and I do have to tell you what's so amazing with this story is I think this is exactly what is going to lead to Maggie leaving the show. It's either going to be someone could get badly hurt because of Maggie. Let me jump in here real quick. We got Jimmy's jamming. Jimmy says, Kills, I do agree. I think Gregory the Rat needed a trial to expose Gregor for what it was unnecessary, but I still stand with Maggie. She's the leader, right or wrong, but I do agree. What if let me put it this way, and we don't think this is the exit. So, how many people here think Maggie should sneak in to Alexandria and kill Negan and just end it? How many people think that Maggie's justified? Old Soul says, is Daryl Maggie's Dwight? Daryl definitely chooses Maggie over everyone else right now. So I just want to see how many people think that Maggie is justified. So, Rick Fisher is going to make Hilltop great again. I got you, Rick. All right, some people are saying an eye for an eye. Okay, I'm confused. I mean, I think if you are going to kill someone, Negan would be more justifiable than Gregory. I do not like Gregory. I would have, set him free and said, you're exiled from every community. I'm just trying to get a feel for the audience. Well, I mean, Negan killed more people than Gregory did. Gregory is not very good at it. Just so you know, Gregory had the knife, and Gregory could not kill Maggie. So his best attempt, I mean, one, he had to try to get a drunk guy to do it. And number two, even when he was confronted with it, he still had the weapon and got overpowered. I mean, Gregory was not a physical threat to anyone. Thanks so much, Derek. Appreciate that, man. You know what? KCF, you are absolutely right. I have not seen that comparison. Greg reminded her of Dr. Smith in Lost in Space. I absolutely agree with that. Joe Fulford says, if Maggie is justified for killing Gregory, then why didn't she also kill the assailant? That doesn't make sense. I mean, she's blaming Gregory for getting Earl drunk. So she's giving him a pass. It was outside of his control. She needs a blacksmith. It's, you know what? There's some truth to it. I'm just catching up on some comments. You guys have some really, really awesome comments. So, to those of you who, it wasn't a big majority of the crowd, but there was, a contingency of our crowd tonight that said, Maggie has a right to go in and kill Negan. So, let me give you a hypothetical. Maggie goes in to kill Negan, right? Just blinded by revenge. And she's got a clean shot on Negan. And Rick steps in front, and Maggie takes out Rick. And that was one of the... I think it's a weak theory. It is one of the theories we came up with early on. And Maggie accidentally kills Rick. And then Maggie can't deal with it anymore. She leaves. If Rick were willing to give his life for Negan, is Maggie still justified in going to try to kill Negan? If there's an innocent bystander that dies because of her need to do things outside of the realm of everyone else? So Deborah, this is what I would say, is that very well may be the case. And once again, there's no right or there's no wrong. I mean, they're going to have whatever rules they decide they can have or they can't have. And we're going to be making a decision either way. And a lot of times we're going to side with whatever's more personal to us. But I would also argue that if you're going to have anarchy, then say you're going to have anarchy. Define what it's going to be. Don't apologize for it afterwards or justify it after the fact. I would also kind of give this as advice to Maggie. Rick is running Alexandria. Okay, if this is a Hilltop issue, which apparently it was, at a minimum, Maggie could have said, Rick, Michonne, I'm going to hang Gregory. You can go ahead and get on your horse and go back. This is my problem. I'm going to deal with it. The fact that she made Rick watch her enact her own laws changes my perspective of her even more. And this is my wild card I've been holding for the Maggie sympathizers. She looked down at Rick and said, "You will follow me in the future." Not, we will be partners, we'll work this out, you take care of your community, I'll take care of... Rick's begging for food. He's begging for her help. He's in a compromising position. And then her and Daryl totally did something that they knew was a slap in the face to Rick and Michonne. Because they know that Rick swallowed his own pride to keep Negan alive for the bigger picture. And what she's basically doing is she's saying, my house, my rules, your system does not work, and watch this. You keep Negan locked up, you do things your way, this is the way we do it here. Kill him. So not only did she do things her own way, she absolutely did, Lakeisha. She said, Screw you, Rick. And she did it multiple times. Now, I didn't know that when AMC promoted Rick's final episodes that we were going to have to watch Rick crawl around like a baby. I mean, I want to see Rick Grimes with stand up a little bit and say, no, no, no. Daryl, you slap that horse on the butt and it's on. You ain't killing him right now in front of all these people. This is going to stop until we talk about it. But that's not what we saw. And I think that's what some people had the issue with, is Maggie's character is growing to a level where she is putting her foot down of being the de facto leader of the entire world. Mods, can we exit the person who's here promoting cryptocurrency? I just don't know what that has to do with what we're doing. So, Dawn of the Frank, you might, I think it's, I got it. Yeah, they're gone. 1189 Paris looks like Dwight isn't going to be in Season 9. I think he is going to be at the end of Season 9. But I don't think he's going to be around till like 12 or 13. Now, and Jason, you're right. I think Maggie's, see, I don't know if that's going to be her biggest error, but it is going to be a big problem. I'm not sure how it'll play out, whether it'll be a decision making. It could be Rick's biggest error of having the Saviors build it. But Maggie will be indirectly involved in that. And then, next week is going to be Daryl and, is it Jed? Daryl and one of the Saviors is going to be fighting next week. So let me, and Angie, you're absolutely right. See, I can tiptoe this line with the best of them. I can, dip in the side over here that is the Rick Grimes, and I can go over here and give the Maggie justification. And once again, I'll say it's wonderful writing. If you just wanted, if people logged on for episode 1 and they just wanted strictly eye candy and they thought it was going to be, just the amazing visuals in week number 1, I don't think we got that. But if you talk about a storyline that is going to kind of keep you questioning yourself and which side you're going to be on and who's right and who's wrong, this is it. Because there's that part that says Maggie's justified, or Maggie can't control it. That if she really is struggling with an illness, and I don't think it's just revenge, if she's really struggling and she sees something, let's talk about someone else that has a disease. Let's talk about Earl. How many people were just really angry at Earl? Or how many people were more angry at Gregory, even though Earl's the one that got drunk and tried to kill Maggie and Enid? Most people were more upset at Gregory. Because Earl has a disease. They're both guilty, but Earl got talked into it, and his wife said, "You're not very much of a man," and he was pushed and felt like he had to do something to put his foot down. And I'm not saying his actions were right, but he got out of control. And I think there are definitely two wrongs here, but it did seem like Gregory's wrong was more than Earl's, and Maggie thought so too, because Maggie obviously killed him for it. We've got a couple super chats. So Jimmy's jamming. Jimmy with big time super chat. Jimmy, thank you so much, man. He says, Kills, I hate to take Negan's side in anything. Abe and Glenn were victims of circumstance. Negan took out Abe, who to me was a direct threat, and when Daryl acted out as Glenn's beat down was the result of Daryl's insult. It wasn't perfect. Oh, Jimmy, oh boy. I'm going to have to figure out a way to analyze this one. And 1189 Paris says, ironically, Maggie won't be here for the Saviors. Paris, that's an excellent point. Or the Whisperers. When they need the leadership, she won't be here, and I think that is the irony. Okay, so how many people, I love Jimmy's jamming. How many people want me to take the gloves off? You know what? I'm going to leave it up to the audience. I don't want to go after Jimmy, especially after that wonderful super chat. All right, Jimmy. And I do have to say this, as I definitely respect Jimmy's opinion. Jimmy's one of my favorites. But Jimmy, the second part of what you said, and Kel said, I agree with you 100%. Kel's an accomplice to this. Glenn and Abraham were not victims of circumstance. Abraham was a necessary death. Abraham was a threat. And Abraham was going to die. Negan took the bloody bat and put it in Rosita's face. Negan could have killed Abraham, made his point, packed up their lunch bags, and gotten out of there. Negan was there to kill two people, which is why he antagonized Rosita to see who else was going to be a threat, and he got Daryl to react. Negan created the circumstance. Which would not make Glenn a victim of circumstance. Daryl did not get Glenn killed. Negan was going to kill a second person because he went straight to Rosita and he was antagonizing because he knew he could push the buttons to get somebody else to act out of line. And he should have killed Daryl. Because one could argue Glenn had killed, one human in his life? Kel, you're right, but being right does not make you 100% right. The lineup proved its point. The man was already dead. Negan said, I'm going to kill one of you. Not, I'm going to kill one of you, and then I'm going to hang around a little bit longer and see if I can make one of you guys make me kill another one of you. That's just not... That's not circumstantial. It's antagonizing. And that's not the way rules work. There are rules, but you don't stack the deck in your favor. And you know what? There were other opportunities to kill other people. So Jimmy, I don't disagree with that. Um, but if you take Negan at his word, there should have been one death, and then he could have said, you know what? There you go. Comic book fans that are out there. How many people did he kill in the comic book? In the lineup? There you go. Totally unnecessary to one-up it. We didn't need that. We didn't need to have 2 deaths on the television show. Overboard, too much, not justified. All right, I'm putting the gloves back on, Jimmy. We had our moment. But thank you for that strong opinion. And you know what? And once again, it's perspective. But I will tell you, I'm very passionate about how that scene was written and how poorly that scene was written. I still don't agree with it. So many ways that could have been done better. And it created a domino effect. Let me kind of change topics, though. Oh, hold on. We got double super chat happening at the same time. So first things first, we got Joe Fulford. Joe says, sorry if I take a different route. Is there word yet on Scott Gimple announcement as to what it'll be and when it'll be? Joe Fulford, I have not heard. Walking Dead Nerd, you got any intel for me? A lot of times I get like messages from Walking Dead Nerd, like, Kills, did you check this out? Did you see this yet? I've not heard or seen yet. Nothing yet. Still would not be shocked if it's a movie. All right. So thanks, Joe. We'll update. As soon as we get it, we'll talk about it. I wish this big announcement was going to be that they'll stop showing episodes a day before everybody else gets to see them, or stop, letting people pay their way to get the full. Maybe that should be Scott Gimple's big announcement. Sorry if you're watching, Scott. 1189 Paris says, Kills, I hated the 2 deaths, but the producers wanted to repay the fans for waiting 7 months for the answer. Paris, do you think that was adequate payment? It's like, hey, you waited 7 months, so let's take Glenn away from you. I think you guys could keep me going with this all night. I want to talk about Maggie a little bit more, but you hit a nerve when you start talking about that lineup. I would have rather been repaid in a different manner, Paris. One that didn't constitute killing. I honestly think that the writers tried to mimic the comic, and they didn't realize how much more emotional we are seeing these characters on TV than reading the comic book. I think they underestimated that, and I've gone on record of saying that before. I think they were just too naive. They thought it would go over a little bit better. It did not go over well. Kim Ames with the super chat. Thank you so much, Kim. Appreciate that. Kim, do you have a follow-up question or something you want to know? If so, type it up there, and I'll have the moderators look out for it. Because if you guys super chat, appreciate you guys coming in and obviously super chatting, making donations. But I really love when you guys post comments. Just it highlights, it just gives us something that we want to talk about. It keeps the conversation kind of jumping around a little bit. You know what, Pete? I saw the comment, and because there's two things that really hit a nerve. One is the 7-1 that I'll never go back and watch again, and number two, Pete D just hit it on the head. It's like is the asking about whether or not Rick will lose an arm. Pete, I hope he loses an arm at this point, just so we can see it happen. Jimmy Jammin says. Kills, don't think for a second I was defending Negan, just an alternate. No, absolutely. And Pete, taking off the gloves is just for show. You guys, I'm sorry, I said Pete. Jimmy, I appreciate your perspective. I got kind of two conversations happening at the same time. And you know what, that being said, and I know Jimmy just super chatted that, if you guys are new to the channel, we debate, we give perspectives, and hopefully the goal really is to do it in a non-intimidating way. I want you guys to be able to come and give your opinions and disagree and look at different perspectives and do it kind of lightheartedly, because those different ideas, I don't want you guys to think for a minute that I'm one of those moderators like there are other channels that just want to kind of throw my opinion and say, this is the way it's going to be, you have to accept this. I will give some impassioned speeches, but they're always up for review. We can always change it. I'm just reading through, catching up a couple comments, guys. And that's the other thing. See, Kel actually indirectly came to my defense, because Pete mentioned the Rick arm, and then Kel immediately came back and had to throw a Terra joke in there. And you only get this if you've done as many streams as we have, and that's a nice thing. You guys kind of know each other's pet peeves. Really quickly, as a pet peeve, we've had... by the time this video goes live, we're going to have 600 or 700 people that have kind of either joined some of it, watched a little bit of it. You guys do me a favor, hit the like button. Come on, everybody. Hit that like button. 999 Army. If you enjoyed the show last night, give it a thumbs up. If you hated the show, give this video a thumbs down. How about that? We'll put the pressure on The Walking Dead. They need to do better so we get more likes. We got 1189 Paris again says, don't agree with the producers on the double death. More blood for waiting was their response because a lot of fans wanted a death. Yeah. Those... I think it was the mystery. They wanted people to expect Glenn to die, but when they killed Abraham, take a sigh of relief and say, oh, they didn't do it the comic. How did they kill Abraham? And then kill Glenn. And it was just that shock effect. First of all, we waited a long time, and then the shock of it was too much. They didn't want it to be predictable, and I really think it kind of backfired on them. Yeah, I will say there are many that are not fans of Terra. And I think the more people that speak out against Terra's arc and Terra's story, I think the writers just have more incentive to say, oh, we're going to keep her alive longer. And I think at this point, it's just to antagonize Pete D. Literally, at the end of the show in 10 years, Terra will be the last survivor standing. And we're going to say we predicted it all along. All right. Joe Fulford, kills. You're so good. When are they going to have you on Talking Dead? You would kill it. That's for them to decide. But thank you. Not only is that an awesome comment, but it's an awesome super chat comment. So I'll wait for the phone to ring and see if AMC wants to give me a call. I do think, though, the bigger our group becomes, the better chance one of us will get on Talking Dead. How about that? So let's just keep growing our chats and our streams and our conversations, and eventually they will take notice. And they have, right? I mean, we've had some of our hardcore fans get pictures and video chats and stuff with people on the show. So they're starting to warm up to us a little bit, I think. Yeah, The Walking David says, I strongly dislike Terra and think she's extremely poor written and developed character. I do think there's parts of Terra that I don't have a problem with. I do think the character could be written better. And who knows, maybe this will be the season that they do it. So sometimes we do these chats not only to talk about the topic, but I do want to call out a couple things from our predictions. That's a good question. Kim Ames, I'll get back to that in 1 second because this is a very good question. And Kim did a super chat a little bit earlier. So Kill's kind of late, but what bothered you the most about the episode? From a critique standpoint, nothing. Nothing bothered me about the episode from a fan's perspective viewing it. From if I were a character on the show, Rick's not standing up for the global view that he has would bother me. Maggie's transition would bother me. Do I think it was the best episode I've ever seen? No, but to go in for me to and I try to be objectively critical. I know it sounds a little bit like I guess it's kind of like an oxymoron, right? But sometimes when we critique things, we don't know what's going to happen next week, the week after, and the week after. And the one thing that I've always respected, both the actors and the writers, the actors are incredible. The actors on the show, I think, play their roles as good as any actors on any television show. Their facial expressions, their body language, their posture, all of those things are things I'm looking at to see, does it feel real when they're doing it? The writers occasionally will put a storyline out there, and we get so rabid because we like to attack it every week or we like to break it down every week, and then 3 weeks later, we go back and we're like, that's why they did that. And I think that's a little bit of what's in play right now, which is why I really wanted to talk about Maggie's rise to power, and I wanted to make it polarizing. We talked about it last night and talking about it today because I think that there are certain personalities, and it's not right or wrong, but there's certain personalities, those of you have it, to say, Gregory's wrong, kill him, Maggie had a right. But then there's other people that are going to say, well, wait a minute. What's the goal here? The goal is to have a better society and have a bigger society and change things. And you do that through relationships and building and rules and charters and those things. So of all the characters that I saw last night, the one that I felt was the most empowered and the most level-headed, and I think they intentionally did this, but they did it in a very subtle manner, is Michonne. Through Rick being weak and through Maggie overexerting her power, the writers showed us who the next leader of the show is. It is Michonne. And she is a lover. She is a mom. She is thinking about charters. She's observing. She's trying to protect the kids. Maggie, stop. She's the one that spoke up. And she had I felt like she had a fairly minor role last night, but I think that she had the biggest impact. And I did not see Michonne in a leadership capacity until last night. Because people have asked me in the streams, and they've said, well, how about Michonne? I'm like, nah, I don't know. It's not she can't do it. It's just I haven't seen her sort of turn the corner and be the person that's really going to go in and take charge and take conviction. But with Rick leaving and Maggie leaving and Michonne probably going to feed Negan and sit down and talk to Negan and set the expectations for Negan, I can certainly see that. So it's a long answer to your question, I know that, but nothing about the show bothered me. In fact, just the opposite. And I think people that didn't like it have a right not to like it, but sometimes people look at a show like this and they just want explosions and eye candy and craziness, and that's not always what we do here. One of the things that we really try to do here is show respect to the writers, because the writers are putting that psychology into the show, and if we don't analyze that psychology, you're missing some of the best part of The Walking Dead. And hopefully that's what all of you like about being here, because I do think that our streams and your interaction and our conversations around it, I think, are probably some of the deepest psychological analysis that you'll find of Walking Dead characters. You know, you do see it on Talking Dead from time to time, but they do have to entertain, and I think here we can just kind of talk about it. And that, everybody, is an hour and 2 minutes, and it went fast. I mean, it went, wow, tonight actually flew by. Absolutely great chat, great interactions. Definitely appreciate the discussion around Maggie, the convictions that you guys have. I mean, you learn a lot about what we look for in a television show by breaking this stuff down. So just my sincere thank you to each and everybody that's here tonight. Once again, if you haven't hit the like button, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It will not cost you a cent in order to do that. So make that happen. One other thing, and I joke with stuff like that, but one thing I'm not joking about is we have a lot of people that watch the playback. And there are many of you that I'm not asking you if you participate in the stream to go back and watch the playback, but because so many people do, check into the comments from time to time, because we have people watch the playback that will comment to what you guys are saying, and I just want them to feel as included as possible. So, you don't have to write paragraphs, but just jump over there every once in a while. If somebody says, hey, Shane Yutzy, I agree with you, then as Shane Yutzy, then, go over and kind of just give them a little bit of back and forth. I absolutely like the back and forth. I love the conversation. It's really what makes our chats just kind of keep growing and keep going. So that would be my request. Thank you, everybody. If you're not familiar with what we do, we will be here at 9:30 tomorrow, Wednesday night, Thursday night. So you can catch us here almost every night, and certainly on Sundays is a big streaming day. So thanks once again. If you're watching the playback, this is the closing credits. This is where we wind it down, and I do a whole lot of shout-outs and say a whole lot of thank you. So I'm going to start out with all the patrons in the top left corner. You can see a huge list of people support the channel. Absolutely amazing group of people. Thank you so much for what you do. You are beyond generous. You guys are just absolutely incredible. Also in the top right corner, you see the sponsors. Many of the sponsors are also patrons. You can see they're highlighted in green as well. And also we had a ton of super chatters tonight, so I definitely want to shout out all the people that super chatted once again. You can see the list is pretty long, so I'll run through this really quick. Pete D, Villar, June Smith, Jimmy's Jammin', Rick Fisher, Old Soul, Joe Fulford, 1189 Paris, and Kim Ames, and Joe, Paris, Jimmy's Jammin'. Several of you guys did multiple super chats. 1189 Paris, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And everybody else is still here. Give me a quick 999 right now in chat, and I'll try to jump around and see how many shout-outs I can do as well. So Shane Hassan, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Lamar Lanham, DJ Domstott, thank you. Samantha Coombs, the Catnat, Ron Burgundy Moore, DDA Ohio, Fierce Scopes, Old Soul, Jennifer Flaherty, thank you. Kelly Golan-Zenier, Supreme Hockey, Shelly K, Rob King, June Smith, Bumblebee Brown, Rhonda DeLuca, Nicholas Scott, Joyce Andrews, thank you. Davina Tenoya, Northside Queen, Gamma, Cammy, Zisco, Justin Barrett, have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow as well, my man. Edwin Gonzalez, Mark Crane, Dr. Fleeman, Geese74, thank you. Vulgar Display of Power as well. Angie Homan, thank you. Appreciate your contribution to chat tonight. Some really good comments. I can't get to all of them, but definitely appreciate you guys participating. Viola McGowan, thank you. Randy Walden, Michael Curie. I'll say it again. Thanks to everyone. You guys are an awesome group. Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate that, man. Julie McGuire, the Walking Dead nerd, thank you. Jimmy's Jammin', my sparring partner. Love the passion, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Tracy Dees, thank you. Ty Beth, thanks for being here. Have a good night, June Smith. Jason, the mixologist. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it, man. Also, let me get my moderators in there as well. Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kels. Unbelievable group of moderators. Kel was like, hey, I'm 99% right, so I'll take that. I think it was 99.9%. Not bad. And also, my enforcer, Tommy the enforcer. Emmy, who will never give any Walking Dead episode any less than an 11. And also to my hall monitor, Steph the Cuervo Queen. If you're out of line, she will definitely walk you over to a corner. Jackson, thank you. Maurice Gamble, thank you as well. All right, and you know what? Sometimes we do just a little bit of bonus coverage at the end of these videos because we get a lot of questions as far as other streams that we're going to do. I've gotten, you guys have been here for a while. You know that we do. Lakeisha, thank you. And Donna Sowards. Cats 1964, Dawn of the Frank, Sherry Bentley. Crystal the singer chick. I saw a whole lot of people pop up. I didn't do shout outs. But, some people want to see movie reviews. Some people like random things because we get a little bit kind of crazy and hang out and start singing, whatever. Really, really relaxed chats. And I miss doing those. During Walking Dead season, we don't get as many of them because we really are trying to focus on the story and the psychology because there's so many stories that are out there that we can just we can take any character from this episode and just do a psychological breakdown of that character, and we probably will at some point or another. I did not see Venom, Walking Dead nerd. I will see it, and absolutely wanted to see it, but I did see A Star Is Born, and I do have to tell you, it was absolutely amazing. It was a toss-up. Part of me wanted to go see that action because, first of all, Venom is my favorite comic character of all time. And I even thought with Venom I might see it multiple times. But when I saw the preview for A Star Is Born, I don't know what I was watching. I was watching something a month or so ago. And I'm like, when that comes out, I'm going to see it early. I am very, very musically driven. The soundtrack is absolutely incredible. I loved it. And I think I want to see the El Real movie too. That looks super interesting. Shane, Halloween I'm not positive, but Venom and the what is it called? Bad Times at I don't remember the exact title. But I've seen it. It looks really good, and I think it's getting pretty good reviews. Would Lady Gaga was terrific, Donna. Well, it was just supernatural. Probably those are two words that don't always flow to get your point. It was very natural the way they developed the characters. You could see that one. Actually, you know what? I can't really talk about it because some people are going to see it. It's going to spoil it. Let me just say the way they developed the characters was awesome. You could you could put yourself in that role, and very few movies kind of do that. Do you guys see? And be honest. Do you guys see value in a movie discussion or a movie review? Or do you think that it would just add too much spoilers? Because if I see something, usually I'm probably going to see it early. Some people have requested and said, hey, we'd love to see you kind of go back and dissect movies and talk about it. But at the same time, I don't know if a lot of our audience would be, I'm not going to tune in because I'm going to go see it. And I think it would be, like, I'd love to give you my breakdown of the show, and I'd love to talk about it and get open discussion, but I think sometimes it might. There's a difference between minor spoilers in The Walking Dead and, like, a movie, you know? All right. We'll give that a little bit of consideration. Um, Kel, if you could do, random things we'll bring that back. I'm going to ask Kel, since she's 99.9% accurate, it's that 1%, if she could do me a big favor. Kel, can you just put up a survey and just add some additional streams? And let's just see if people would be interested in a movie stream. And we won't add the karaoke to it just yet. But I'll touch base. And if you guys are members of the Facebook page, we'll just throw a quick survey up there and just kind of take the pulse of what people would like. Cool. All right. Hey, we ran a little bit over. This is a little bit of the OT, overtime. Thank you. Appreciate everybody making some time to hang out with us tonight and a little bit of casual chat at the end. I will see everybody tomorrow night at 9:30 for another Walking Dead topic. We won't do random things tomorrow, but we'll add random things back in a few weeks. All right. We'll see you then. Peace.